Hello, this is Simracing Corner and my review for the Renovatio development SRD-9C display. This device shows car dashboard information for sim racing games. The unit has an arrangement of individual displays and LEDs for presenting this information, such as gears, speed, fuel, timings, RPM, etc. We'll dive into more detail on this later when we take a look at the software and also during testing. At the time of making this review, I've owned the device for 4 years, so it's had plenty of use and not quite pristine anymore, but still in good condition. I have also modded it with magnets to stick to my direct drive wheelbase. Although this model is still available to buy from the Renovatio development website, they have brought out a newer edition, and for €10 more. The Series 2 version is not that much different from the original, featuring just an updated case design and gear shift light in white instead of the red, which is here. Technically, it's almost identical, so consider this review to be a fair reflection of both versions. Indeed, I have saved the box and contents after all these years. We have a USB cable, software installation CD and manual, pretty standard stuff. You can also download the software directly from their website if you don't have a CD-ROM drive, as a lot of us don't use those these days. Let's take a quick peek inside for the curious among you. The faceplate comes off easily as they do sell some alternative wheelbase mounting brackets that you replace with this faceplate. We have a custom board and everything is nicely laid out and soldered, so yep, looks good. Now let's take a look at the software that runs this device. The single-digit center display shows the gear, and the 4-digit ones on either side can be changed to show different gauges. If any of the options are greyed out here or elsewhere on this screen, it means the current selected game doesn't support that particular type of telemetry. Buttons or keys can be assigned as hotkeys to change the gauge information shown on the left and right displays. Because there are no labels and just numbers, it will be a bit difficult to recognise what gauge you're actually looking at if you are scrolling through these while busy racing. The shift lights are, of course, that crest of brightly lit LEDs. They are configurable with different patterns. RPM blink is optional, which is the prompt to upshift. I do prefer that on, it is a useful aid. You can also create your own patterns under the advanced option. And finally, those 4 LEDs at the bottom are flag warning lights, but they don't work in most games, but you can reconfigure them, so you can still make use of them for other functions. So we're in the cockpit to show you it working and to give you my thoughts on this device. First of all, it does integrate rather well into my setup, which is a personal subjective matter. The SRD-9C sits flush on the direct drive motor and spans the exact width of the motor. The lip on the bottom, along with the magnets, holds the display perfectly in place. As the unit is low profile, no matter which wheel I'm using, I can see the display through the gap. By having it centrally mounted like this, it remains positioned in my eye line for quick glances without taking focus off the track ahead of me. So basically, quite fortunate circumstances and my setup. Ideally, if you can position it in a similar fashion, I think you will get the most out of it. But it does sit on a tabletop just fine if that's your only option. The red LED displays are very clear and bright against the dark surround. Again, good for snapping quick glances and absorbing the information. The arc of individual LED lights accurately match the RPM and flash when you hit the limiter, which I find is a useful aid. These are nice and bright as well, and it gives you a good sense of their status in your peripheral vision. It's fair to say that SRD software is working accurately to pipe through the telemetry from the game to the display. Game support is comprehensive, new titles and older ones going back several years are covered, but I do have a question mark hanging over the frequency of the software updates, which can lead to a few weeks after a new game launch before the display will be supported, and I do have personal experience of this. Back in 2019, Raceroom released a particular big update that changed the shared memory output used for telemetry. And they took 5 weeks to release their software update, which I would consider unacceptable. During that period, Raceroom simply did not work with the SRD-9C display, and it was quite a frustration as I was playing a lot of Raceroom at the time. But the likes of SimHub, Next Level Racing and others brought out updates within just a couple of days. At this very moment, Automobilista 2 is just a few weeks from release, so it will be very interesting to see how they handle that one. On a positive note, I am confident, in fact, let's face it, I'm certain support will come along, but we could be left hanging for a while. We'll just have to wait and see how that one goes. The SRD-9C display is not cheap at €149. Back in the day when I picked this up, the pound to euro exchange rate was very much more favourable, and the question is, would I buy this today? And personally, I would not, unfortunately. It is a well-made product and has been very reliable during my long-term ownership, but we're not exactly talking about highly sophisticated or expensive electronic components. Being sold to a niche target audience and some added cost towards future game support does make the higher price more understandable, but it does seem very expensive for what it is to me. Even buying a new or second-hand Android device and then running a dashboard display app to use exclusively for this purpose is still a more cost-effective option, and in fairness does a whole lot more than just a few simple LED displays that we have here. I do fully appreciate us sim racers often buy expensive things to customise our sim racing setups because we just desire a particular product and it's not a rational decision based on value for money. Hands up, I'm guilty of this. I do understand the sim racing rabbit hole. I've been on the edge of it, fallen in, come out the other side. So yeah, I've been there and done that. But as a reviewer, I should mention there are alternative options out there. And there you have it, my review for the SRD-9C display. It works very well, I like using it, and I'm sure I'll continue to keep using it for many more years to come. But I have to say it is expensive and software updates can be slow, but they do get there eventually. I suppose that's a summary of this product in a nutshell. And that's the end. So thanks for watching and subscribing. I will be back soon with something new. So until then, happy simming and bye bye.